Welcome back to another episode of ERAtv. I'm Julie Coons, President and CEO of the Electronic Retailing Association, and today I'm with Mal Karlin of Karlin Pimsleur. We are delighted to have you.
Thank you very much, Julie. I appreciate it, and thank you for having me.
Now, tell us a little bit about yourself and your company.
Well, Karlin Pimsleur is a New York-based creative boutique that specializes in direct response television, but in a branded way. So it's branded ERAtv. And we enjoy great clients. We have J.G. Wentworth as a client. We do the famous opera commercials. And so we have a great time with our clients, and we enjoy great success for them.
Sounds like you're having an awful lot of fun.
We do. We have a lot of fun.
That's
yes.
Terrific. Well, you're a speaker here at the Great Ideas Summit in New Orleans. Tell me two key takeaways that you would like to impart to attendees here.
Well, one is about messaging and the importance about messaging. And one of the important things about messaging is that when you're delivering the message in a direct response television commercial, it should be something for the right brain and something for the left brain. So what I'm talking about is a rational appeal, but most importantly an emotional appeal. People buy through emotion. If you're making a considered purchase, it's usually emotional. And in terms of that, what we try to do in our commercials and in our strategies is to create and build a television commercial that is built around benefits rather than features. And like an example for a benefit would be, a feature would be, for example, Disney. They have like 100 rides at Disney World, but they would never say that. They would probably say, what they do say is have a lifetime of memories. Or, for example, Ron Popeil has the rotisserie with a timer in it, and he would never say, oh, it's got a built-in timer. He would say, set it and forget it. So those are really benefits that are emotional, and when you do something like that, you're creating a brand, and from that brand, people will buy more, they will tell their friends about it, and that's what's important. And the rational appeal, of course, you have to say those parts of the rational in terms of money, etc. And another part about messaging is that it's interesting because I come out of the big agencies. I was the executive creative director for Draft Worldwide, and I was the creative director in the New York office for Wonderman. So I come out of the agency side. I'm not a production company, although we produce our own commercials. And it's kind of like, it's like a misnomer that people say that we're a production company. But coming out of the big agencies, I really understand about messaging not through TV, but through direct mail. And what I've learned through direct mail is that the parallels are amazing. Because every time we used to do a direct mail campaign, and we did, I'm telling you, we've done thousands of campaigns. We used to come back into the war room, say, okay, let's dissect what happened, why is it such a success, why did it fail? And it's very interesting that we came out with the same reasons. And those reasons were, and I'm telling you, it was like we researched it. It was arguably the only 5 reasons, and I call them the 5 no's. And the 5 no's are no money, no need, no time, no desire, and no trust. And what we did was, if we were going into the war room and say, and the account guy said, well, we had a 1 or 2% response, and they were so happy with the 2% response. And I'm looking at it the other way. Wait a minute, we're looking at the wrong end of the telescope. And the 2% response in my mind was 98% were not responding.
Right.
So how do you get those 98% of the non-responders to respond? So in my eyes we got to turn the non-responders and the no's into how to get them into yeses. So, and that's what we did in direct mail. And I just translated that into TV. So, I mean, there are obvious issues that you deal with TV in terms of building a commercial, but in television, the no money and these, 3 easy payments and, et cetera, you do that, but it gets down to trust, and it gets down to creating a need and creating a desire, and that's what we do in our spots. Now, as far as those, that's one area, that's messaging. The second area is really execution. And as far as execution, going back to learning from direct mail, because when you do direct mail, you have an outside envelope, you have a mail package, there's different elements in the mail package, and you have to get the interest of the audience, you have to get them through the mail package, and then the order, and the offer, and then the order. So it's the parallel is amazing. You have to do the same thing in direct response television. Get their attention immediately, weave them through the package or the TV commercial, get them to the order, and make the phone call. So, that is there was a real education working at as a creative director at the big agencies. I was listening to an interview with Sting, the famous singer-songwriter, arguably probably one of the most fascinating people on this earth. I'm such a Sting fan. And the interviewers asked him, what makes your music so timeless and so universal? And he says, I write a surprise every 8 bars. And I'm saying to myself, that is fascinating, because that's what we do. If you ever take a look at all of our commercials, every 8 bars or every few seconds, there is a surprise, and you could see, and I have tracked it. After I heard this interview, I'm like saying, okay, now I have to go back in history, and I have to track where we are in terms of the 60 seconds or the 120 seconds, where we are in terms of that, and to see if there's a surprise, or if there's, call to action or whatever, and it actually works. If there's a surprise every 8 bars, you're going to have a successful commercial.
Very interesting. Coming out of the big agency side, there is clearly an interest by what we might call branded marketers, the Procters & Gamble's of the world, in direct response. What's enticing about direct response for these very large consumer packaged goods companies and others?
Well, I think that what's enticing is, and they don't know it, but I think that everybody is in direct response, because if you go to any giant brand, if it's a P&G brand or Coca-Cola, there's a website, there's an interactive part of the website, there's some couponing. They are in direct response whether or not they want to admit it, okay? Now, and a lot of brand advertisers are actually doing direct response. There are budgets out there for direct response. So, and it's not new. This has been going on for years. And of course, if you're doing some direct response TV, the media budgets are totally different than general marketing. You don't have that much control, in terms of where you're going to place it and what time it's going to be on. But I think that in terms of brand direct response, I think it's just going to get bigger, because there's more interactivity. Everybody's watching television with 2 screens, what I'm calling 2 screens. Whether, I watch television with my iPad, or my laptop. We're doing something right now that the response is not a phone. We always use, go dial this 800 number. It's not that anymore. It's texting, So everybody is in a different place right now, and it's going to get a little bit better as time goes by, even in a short time.
Right, terrific. Mal, thank you so much for talking with us, and thank you for joining us in another episode of ERAtv.